Welcome back to Backwinded. If you have not been here before, my name is RJ LaValle.
I'm Matthew McKenzie.
So, last couple episodes, we did something, or you did something. You introduced us to the 80 Years' War.
Yeah.
And the Sea Dogs.
Yeah, and what was it, Waterkruisen? My Dutch pronunciation is terrible.
Better you than me to say that.
Right. Yeah, and the reason why I did that was to kind of, we're starting off in early modern period, sort of the beginnings of Western European colonization of the New World in earnest. I mean, there had been fishing camps up in Newfoundland for 100 years before this, but really what's driving the bus was
100 years. Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's by 14, Cabot, or I think his Italian proper name was Jacopo Cabato. Everything got anglicized, but he was sailing for the English crown. He reported back on the Newfoundland grounds in 1498. By 1510, there were dozens of European vessels, and there's a good chance the Spanish and or the French and or the Portuguese knew about these fishing grounds well ahead of time. But
which is an important part that will play into where I want to take things going here. So today we're talking about Mayflower.
Yeah.
The one area where I have a little more knowledge is Mayflower 2, something that I know we want to address in subsequent episodes as far as the recreations of all of these historic vessels. And that's a very, very different kind of history, for lack of a better term.
And what I like about that, the fact that we're going to be doing that, is that there's an element of selectivity. There's an element of heritage, which is sort of a fuzzy term that mixes mythology and history and entertainment and education. Not necessarily bad. I'm not saying this is a bad thing.
So that's a great segue, though, straight into where I want to go with these things.
Right. But today,
today
I'm grilling you for once.
Fine.
Why the hell do we give a damn about Mayflower?
Or
the Pilgrims in general?
Okay, so
heretical statement, but let's be bold.
No, that's great, but we need to stick to our process that we're trying to adhere to. Whatever. But we're going to. Okay, so we're going to go through the TikTok first.
Yeah.
Right, and not
what
TikTok, not
why?
the online. Exactly. So let's hit the TikTok. And then,
but at the end, I'm going to hit you with the so what question.
Absolutely, and I would have been highly disappointed if you didn't.
All right. So,
but
what happened?
It's okay. We go back to actually as far as you had in our very first intro, you had proposed the really interesting question of where does maritime history start and where does it end? And the history of our pilgrims, if you will.
I think you said 6 foot 7 inches inshore. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to break that rule straight away.
Why do I bother?
Thank you very much. So 1607, 1608, the original separatists, if you will, these folks who they didn't like how the crown was pursuing Protestantism. The people that we come to know as the Pilgrims. They start as this weird lunatic fringe of Protestants who, it's just going to get worse from here.
I love beating up on pilgrims.
You do. But
they're so floppy-headed
pull it back.
Freaks.
Let's pull it back to right. Let's just. I know you're chomping at the bit.
I'm just trying so hard to keep my mouth shut.
So I'll race through this TikTok as fast as I can.
No, you do you.
Okay. So 1607, they actually attempt to flee England, and they get caught and brought back. They attempt again, 1608, 1609. They finally make it to Amsterdam, where, thank goodness for them, the folks in Holland were a lot more forgiving. They're like, just whatever, just...
Right. I mean, basically by this time, the Dutch had been ripped apart by religious war between Catholicism and various flavors of Protestantism. And even within the Protestant community, which tended to be by this time further north, where what is now the Netherlands, you had all sorts of interdenominational fighting as well.
Which is a great segue into the next part of the TikTok here. So These new folks, these separatists, they're living in Amsterdam, and they're living amongst other English expats who had also fled because of fled. Thank you.
It's a living language.
Yes, English. They had also fled because of religious persecution, what have you, and our pilgrims found these folks too insufferable, and they couldn't hang with them. So they then petitioned Leiden at this point. That's how they made it to Leiden.
Right.
Where Leiden was even that much more forgiving, like that much more open to religious freedom and the like.
Yeah, it was a university town. And there was a general rule, I believe, that you are welcome to practice what you want, just not in public.
Yes. Yeah. So they go there, and they're there for 8-ish, 9-ish years. They're living in a city, right? So living in a city, you're not being able to do subsistence farming or anything, so they have to do something.
Well, they were farmers, weren't they?
They were, but not in Leiden.
Not in Leiden.
No,
they had
Leiden,
left Scrooby, wasn't it?
Yes, Scrooby.
It just adds to the aura of freakishness.
That name is just like, are you kidding?
Scrooby-Dooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my head.
How can you not?
It's still a town, by the way.
They're actually working in the textile industry to make money. Because that's one thing for me, I'd like to cast this blanket of we always, like, no, me. For me personally, I always forget that people in stories like this, freakish stories, that at the end of the day, you still have to make a living. Like, they're not just always sitting there practicing a religion. They had to keep a roof over your head. So they do this by working in the textile industry, but they're also running an underground printing press.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm starting to get a little more respect for these people. Like, they're going to be subversive, albeit for all the wrong reasons, but like, okay, respect.
Yeah.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Well, so this printing press plays a really big role. We're going to be coming back
Getting them thrown out.
Kinda.
Because even the Dutch are like, dudes.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the printing press, so they start producing all this subversive material. And the English are like, ugh, okay, well, at least you're over there, whatever. Right. Well, of course, they produce a piece that is taking down the king. And then the king's like, okay, guys, to the Dutch, like, you got to shut this down.
Right.
And they're like, maybe. So they're kind of playing nice, but they're not shutting it down. This is what I don't get. There's something about this TikTok that just doesn't. I don't know how to unwind this.
Okay.
This happens. This is 1619-ish. This is the same time that the separatists are starting to think, well, we need to get out of Amsterdam. We need to get out of Holland in Leiden because our kids are becoming too Dutch.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're already thinking we need to go someplace else. Where do we go? Maybe it's the New World. And a couple of folks, one in particular is John Carver. They end up going over to England. So here, we've been printing and producing this subversive material, but now we're going to go back to England and look for investors.
Well, clearly,
why weren't they just taken in at that point? Why didn't it was like, oh, here you are. No, we're not going to give you any money. We're not going to allow you to work with the Virginia company. Where it's like,
well, so okay, one thing so I think I might be able to help shed some light on this.
Yeah.
There was a very prominent, very wealthy, and very powerful Earl of Warwick, who was also a radical Protestant.
Okay.
And I don't know when he died, though. He may still be alive. He was very active.
He's still alive today.
Oh, he's getting a little on, but
he's a little rank.
So I don't know if this happened after he passed or not. But there was a lot of radical Protestants.
There were pockets, okay.
And so there were friends,
okay,
that they could hide out with, and there were people who were looking for investment opportunities that meshed with their religious motivations. So it's not beyond the pale.
So here's
then you didn't have borders and customs in the police state that we are much more comfortable. Police state is probably overstating it, but. It's easier to cross borders back then, especially on maritime trade.
So here's the reflection then into this integration of the Pilgrim story in the 80 Years' War.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So there's something going on. So, but the problem is that this was in the middle of this is at the tail end of the 12-year truce.
Exactly. And one thing I failed to get in there to insert is the separatists were trying to get over as there was intimation that their truce would be coming. So that's what the point where they did come to the continent. They arrived in the continent or in Leiden only 2 months before the truce was finally signed.
So they arrived in Leiden in 1612.
Yeah. Yeah. So very fast, and they decided they knew that the timeline of the truce was very finite.
Right.
So they're like, oh boy. So that was another part of it. It wasn't just that their kids were becoming more Dutchified.
Mauric, I'm sorry. Dutchified.
I'm coining that.
Hashtag Dutchified trademark.
But they knew that things were going to start to go sideways as soon as this truce was over.
I think it's really just to take a quick moment to think about, Spanish and the Dutch had been at war at this point since 1568. So for almost 50 years.
I say 50 years, yeah.
50 years they've been fighting pounding on each other, hammer and tong.
Yeah.
And they get to a point where both sides,
I need a breather.
the whole I don't know, maybe forge a peace deal and not go back to fight.
Yeah.
Nope. We're just going to take a breather. It's like right out of Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Coyote and the Sheepdog episode. Let's go get a beer, George. Good God. We think about people in the past as these great figures of brilliant and smart and principled. And no, they're just as dumbass as we are.
Well, it was like Union War. Like the Union says we can only fight for 50 years, and then they need to take a break.
We're going out on strike against fight. I mean,
kind of was.
There's probably some. The rank and file troops. I know the Spanish forces were rarely paid on time, if they're paid at all. The mercenaries.
We addressed that.
Yeah.
Back in the game. Let's keep this rolling forward. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So they're in Leiden.
Our
Carver goes to England, doesn't get nailed.
Brewster and Bradford, they're not in. They were part of the original separatists, bring them over, but they're not part of I think it was Bradford who was doing much more of the subversive printing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't go over looking as part of this crew looking for financing. But they were able to procure financing, and that more importantly, they were able to get a charter from the Virginia Company in order to establish a settlement. So not a colony, but a settlement. And maybe you can give us a little bit of a back projection of why that was important, why settlements on the seaboard. You addressed this a little bit with Sea Dogs and the 80 Years' War, but I think this is a really, really important thing to get through to folks of what the purpose of these settlements were from the perspective of a financer.
Right. So a couple things are going on. First off, while I think the Anglo-Dutch War had ended, the Anglo-Spanish War had ended in the early 1600s, so 1604, 5, something like that. Again, my dates, look it up in Wikipedia. Everybody knew that was just a breather. Like we're going to go, they're going to sooner or later, English are going to go back to war with somebody, especially over these religious issues. So just as Roanoke was attempted in 1585, just as Jamestown was settled in 1607, you have this charter is probably looking to establish another forward operating base.
Okay.
So that commerce raiders, English sea dogs, pirates, privateers, call them what you will, didn't have to bring the stuff all the way back to England, turn it around, get money and recruit more people, and then go sail all the way back across the Atlantic. They could just scootle up to the Chesapeake. There's enough people with means to evaluate value of cargo would be there. That was the first supply in Jamestown. And so you can figure out how much of a line of credit you can loan these guys.
So this is this is going to be really important going forward of what happens right now. So
But I'm not sure if the Virginia Company was part of that, though. Oh, were they?
Yes.
Oh.
So
Go on.
yes. So the Virginia Company. This is where the first tension comes up, and this is where the very beginning of the first mythology of our Pilgrim forefathers comes from. Is that the financiers, the Virginia Company, is like, okay, we'll do this, but we're sending 65 of our own people with you.
Just to keep
Yeah.
the freak show in check.
It's not just that, but they had learned that in order for any settlement to be successful, they had obviously seen failures.
Right. Well, Jamestown succeeded barely.
Right. So they knew what kind of makeup of personnel they needed to send.
So who are they sending?
They're sending guys to do building.
Okay.
Construct and be able to.
So not soldiers of fortune
No.
and gold assayers and jewelers and silversmiths and
Yeah.
people like people actually are useful in building a settlement.
There may have been a couple of those. As both you and I will admit that there are very learned scholars in this and who are neck deep in this material.
know far more than
Far more.
Yeah, we're
So,
knuckleheads when it comes compared to them.
Yeah, we're giving broad strokes and maybe a taste of an interest for somebody to want to then go pursue.
But there were soldiers in the separatists. Miles Standish, for example, he had served against the Spanish in the Netherlands.
Yes, and he was one of the ones who was asked to go along by the Virginia Company.
Oh, he was not part of the separatist community.
No.
Interesting.
Yes.
So there were other strangers too. You mentioned this in a previous episode that there were saints, rather presumptuous of them, who call themselves the saints, but they are pilgrims after all.
And what's fascinating is so all this language that they use, the strangers, and they continue to call them the strangers after a 66-day voyage across the Atlantic. That was we're getting ahead of ourselves, but they continue to use that language of stranger even after anybody who's been through a 66-day voyage that also included, as you'll quickly find out, some harrowing moments. You're not a stranger anymore. So to continue to use that language was very fascinating.
But this is one of the freakish things about pilgrims is that, and in radical Protestants at the time in general, but they in particular, this like us and everybody else is inferior.
Yeah.
We are God's chosen people.
Yep.
I mean, everybody, it seems, in some sort of religious organization thinks that they are God's chosen people.
Yeah. So if everybody thinks they are, well then we. Okay.
Right. It's the idea.
Let's not alienate a lot of people, right?
Well, I always learned that God loves everybody, so
Okay.
nobody gets more than another.
Right.
But so from the social construction of pilgrimism.
Coined. Hashtag pilgrimism.
Trademark. You have to have this othering of other people. There's those who are inside the club of the chosen, and then there's everybody else is going to hell.
So we're going to find that becomes a sticky wicket for them. But it also becomes.
It's a great way to make friends.
But it also becomes the foundation of our mythology. Oh, hold on. So, I know, but it's all good stuff. It's all great stuff. So financing's procured. They use the financing and purchase their first boat called Speedwell. And then the charter company also arranges for, or the Virginia Company with the charter arranges for charters Mayflower and their captain Christopher Jones, who was also a partial owner in the boat.
Yeah, not uncommon at the time.
To shuttle this group of people over to North America, and it was the charter actually was for the northern part of Virginia, technically the southern end of the Hudson River. So
Oops.
Well, that's how far north Virginia went.
Well, yeah, but they also missed that.
Think about it latitudinally, not bad. given what they encountered. Or, hold on.
But latitude sailing was old hat by then.
Oh, sure.
I mean, people have been doing it for centuries.
There are reasons why this happened. We'll get there.
George's Bank, for one.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Part of it. So here they were supposed to land in North Jersey.
Right.
Okay. And that was the intention. The first boat that they got, the Speedwell, as they first head out, and about the timing that they wanted to, which was early 1620, sometime around July, they headed out and the boat was leaking, which not unusual for a wooden boat, but unreasonable for something that they purchased. So they turn around, they go and repair it. They head out a second time, this time in mid-July, and the Speedwell specifically, is leaking like a sieve. So they bring the boat back in, and they determine that it's not seaworthy. Now, later scholarship has shown, and this is amazing. So this is one place where I'd like to actually put up a graphic. And this is an area that we're going to be focusing on a lot for at least the next year or so with most of the stories we tell. And I think anybody who follows us, if they're not aware of terminology, I think this would be a good place to put a little primer in.
Yeah. Maybe we can put a link to a handy website that has.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. But so here's a quick 3-minute tangent on what happens with these boats. They have a hull, right? And the hull is with these pieces of wood, we call them planks, and they're held together in compression that keeps the water from rushing into the boat. So the sticky up parts, right, are as
I beg your pardon.
as many people I've heard
sticky uppy bits.
Yeah, the sticky uppy bits. Those are the masts, and for our Mayflower, you have your fore and your main and your mizzen. We'll do a look at things, and then you have all the spider webs of everything going there. But the things that people climb up, that I'm trying to use non-nautical terms here for somebody who might be interested but has no idea what all this stuff is. Those are the shrouds. And the shrouds, curiously enough, are going to be pulling up on areas that want to also be pushing down.
Right.
And then at the peak of the shrouds, it's really pulling down on the mast, down onto the keel of the boat. And I've learned this through working with a master rigger, in that you can, if the integrity of the hull is not what you think it is, you can actually drive the mast through the keel.
Oh, that's wild.
So
oh my God.
That is how much pressure is created by those shrouds if you're really over tensioning them.
Right.
So the later scholarship has intimated that the crew of the Speedwell, now who knows why they did this? Maybe they saw the people that they were going to have to be aboard with for the next 60 days and are like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this trip. It would have not been difficult for riggers who knew what they were doing to over-tension those shrouds and create a leaky boat.
Oops, gotta go home. Dump the freaks ashore.
Yep. So Speedwell's declared unseaworthy. The crew's like, whoo, and they leave.
Yep.
And only about half of the settlers, or what have we been calling them?
The freaky pilgrims?
The freaky pilgrims decide to migrate over onto Mayflower.
So Mayflower has more people aboard than originally intended.
Yes. So,
well, the other thing is that it's interesting, this two-vessel strategy. You see the Portuguese adopting this very early in the 15th century.
Okay.
You have a larger, now, more or less a store ship, maybe a fortified position, it's more heavily armed, and that stays offshore. And then you have a much more nimble, lighter, faster, more maneuverable caravel, lateen rigged, tucking up into the shores and that sort of thing.
And in this case,
trading,
Speedwell was the smaller vessel.
Right. And I imagine, do you know what her rig was?
I do not.
Probably some sort of hybrid thing that has some maneuverability.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. So we have some of the new pilgrims coming off of Speedwell, coming onto Mayflower, So now you have Mayflower that's overloaded, probably under provisioned, because it's now has more people on board than what was expected, and most importantly is now leaving almost 3 months later than planned. And that means going, not just, it was already going to be a more difficult journey, as we'll find out even further on, coming across, going east to west, much more difficult across the northern Atlantic. They weren't going to take a long route down with the trades or that way. They were just
taking a northern route.
Yeah, northern route. And basically bucking against the Gulf Stream and bucking against the prevailing winds, and so a much more difficult journey. Well, and this late into the season, you're also then running into increased ferocity of storm systems coming across with more frequency. Mm-hmm. So numerous times they're having to strike their sails and just sit there and bob through storms. People are seasick all over the place. One person dies, not unusual in one of those.
Yeah.
A child is born, and one guy, a pilgrim, is washed overboard, but grabs a line and is pulled back onto the boat.
Lucky bastard.
Well, divine providence.
Or incredible athleticism, one of the two.
Right. So,
do we know the terms of the charter?
I do not. No.
Because I hope he was getting paid by the month and not a fixed price. Because
Christopher Jones,
yeah,
the captain.
Because you're leaving at the wrong time of year, and you're not able to. You're basically monopolizing that vessel.
Well, if
on one charter.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to flip charters on a much more typical thing. I don't. Right. Do we know where Mayflower usually traded before this?
I don't, but she didn't last long after.
How old was she? When was she built?
You're killing me, man. That's a really good question. I don't know, and actually, not many people. I don't know if I don't know if scholarship does know that. Nobody knows what happened to the boat. They know 1622. She went off the rolls, but nobody knows what happened to her after that.
Well, these boats only last 20 years.
I said the printing press would come back. So in the middle of one of these storms, a deck beam cracks.
Oh, so
and they take the screw from the printing press out to
as a lolly column.
Yeah.
Hey, finally it's doing some good. They brought a printing press.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't? Sorry.
I could see when getting shipped across once everything's established. I get that. I understand. Yeah. Literacy and printing is important to practice of radical Protestantism.
But the boat has 102 people on it, two including crew and strangers, and
sure, let's make room for a printing press.
Exactly. Who's their audience? Couldn't you just walk around the settlement and it's like, oh, by the way?
And they all could read and write.
Yeah.
So a few reams of paper and some ink probably be more space efficient.
Yeah. But if they hadn't brought it, the boat could have easily foundered and gone down.
Oh yes, and let me guess, divine providence.
Of course.
Again. Oh my God.
So our vessel has made it across. 66 days it took. Our printing press has saved the day.
The ship's carpenter, who was smart enough to realize to use it, saved the day.
Well, there's that.
That's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Probably the most accurate.
Yeah.
Right. And as we've talked about many times when it comes to historiography of all these things, the only documentation that we have to go off of is Bradford.
Right.
Right.
His version of the past.
Right. I don't even think that scholarly they've worked with any of the work of Captain Jones. I don't think.
I don't think he left. I don't know if his papers survived. If he had any papers at all.
Because he died 2 years after the boat returned from the North America.
So, assuming he kept papers, he probably did as a partial owner.
Yeah.
God knows where they wound up.
Yeah.
1666, the fire of London torched a whole bunch of stuff.
And at that time, it was just another settlement.
A bunch of freezing freaks rotting on a beach.
So nobody was going to be keeping those papers necessarily
Well, but in Bradford's case, there's a PR campaign.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, absolutely. That's so important, so important. So the boat comes into Provincetown, Mass, at the very tip of Cape Cod, and they know that these storms, everything else, have knocked them off course. They've had a hell of a time getting to Provincetown, and they know it's like, okay, well, our charter's for basically North Jersey, well, Northern Virginia, and we need to get there. So they leave, they start going down the eastern side of Cape Cod, and that area is basically one of the graveyards of the Atlantic.
Jones is like, screw this, we're turning around.
Yeah, they start seeing all of this white water and frothy, basically all these shoals and places that are really, really dangerous to navigate in the currents, and they're like, screw this, turn around.
They were probably going up near Cultivator Shoal, and it's been documented that in really bad storms in the winter, that goes dry.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, and there's some early charts that put an island there, and
so from them,
Jones,
it's all
being
visual.
Prudent, right? He's seeing bad water, and chances are.
And what would bad water look like?
Choppy, breaking rollers, that sort of thing, and navigating off of the Dutch coastline as he probably did.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere along the English Channel, you get shallow water quick, and you learn how to avoid it early.
So they're like, punt, turn around, head
it.
back to Provincetown, and here's where the really interesting bit comes in, where we start unwinding all of this mythology. So what's the common myth that we have here in the United States regarding the Mayflower Compact?
This is
the foundational document of democracy.
Democracy, yeah, right.
No, this thing was, holy shit, we've got a problem, because all of the strangers who were told to come on board because of the Virginia Company looked at the separatists and they say,
there's no way I want to live with you.
No, it's not that. They say, you have no legal authority over us if this is where we're staying.
Oh, wow.
You can't tell us what to do.
That's rich.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So they have to come up with a whole new
the charter was
governing
for
document.
North Jersey, for Northern Virginia. And they were not there.
And they did not want to be governed under the terms of the charter that they had. Oh, wow. That's juicy. I'm digging that. I'm digging that.
So that was the birth of the Mayflower Compact. So they go, holy crap. All right, well, let's work something out here.
We'll have to come up with some sort of compromise. Now, just as a quick aside, there is some goodness that came out with the Pilgrims not landing North Jersey, because had they landed in North Jersey, then the Yankees would be God's favorite baseball team, as evidence of an angry, vengeful God. As a Red Sox fan, I can tell you that there is an angry, vengeful God. It manifests itself in the Red Sox. About 20
particularly this season.
They finally sacked Cora, but anyway, that's a different.
Now we get into that space of how far do we want to go with this. So we've landed. They've written this Mayflower Compact, which was written out of absolute necessity.
Yeah.
There wasn't any type of, oh, look, we are now here and we are drafting the origin story for what will now become the United States of America.
Yeah, these people had no desire for democracy. That was a bad word at the time.
Absolute zero. And I appreciate...
And it sounds like the Mayflower Compact was kind of grudgingly granted, too.
100% grudgingly.
So, like, if we don't give them something...
That's my own speculation.
No, I think you're right.
But it was born from the strangers saying, we are now in a place over which you have no, or through which you have no jurisdiction.
Right. And they now have 2 months under duress, living with a group of people who define the world, us versus everybody else. And we're God's chosen, so do what we tell you.
Yeah. They were like, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
And oh, by the way, and one of the reasons they had power and influence is that the Virginia Company that provided these people in order to have this settlement work were the people who were going to make this settlement work.
Right. These were they may not be the guys working the printing press, but they're building the houses, plowing the field.
Yeah.
Here's a situation where, because of where Mayflower winds up, all of the strangers are now free to be their own masters.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's rare.
And they see this.
And they take
so
it.
You have guys like Miles Standish, who are like, who, to your point, for soldier of fortune.
Right.
It's like, oh, I can do something with this.
Yeah.
And I will.
Yeah. You need someone who understands manual at arms. I do.
Yeah.
I'll be in charge of defense, and I'll take a nice piece of land. So instead of the Mayflower Compact being a foundation of American democracy, perhaps we should see it as a foundation of American opportunism.
Ooh, wow. I mean, it's not a hard lens to look at it through. Right?
Oh, now we're going to have to write a paper about that and submit it to the AHA. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you can.
No, I bet someone's written about it already.
Oh, we'll dig into that.
Years ago, I had the privilege to work at the Massachusetts Historical Society under Peter Drummey, who I think is now retired. He was the head librarian. Magnificent guy, great personality. And he told me once, and I think he was right, that there have been 3 books written about pilgrims for every pilgrim. Don't add to that, Matt. Well, and I haven't.
and that was one of my hesitations in doing this versus Mayflower 2.
Well, Mayflower 2 is a story unto itself.
Absolutely,
well.
And that's why I'm really looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah.
There's one I'm a lot more familiar with, which is the helpful part. But there's just so much scholarship on this area, and so for that, I apologize to anybody if I've totally butchered any of these things, but not really, because where we're trying to go with this is unwinding the mythology of so many things that we see in the early modern era. Right. All these things that become these foundational touchstones, all of these little things that become, as I've said before, the origin story of America, for lack of a better term. So Mayflower Compact signed, literally one of the first things they do, because they're about to lose control over what's going on here.
Before anyone leaves the boat.
Right. The separatists were about to have separatists of their own, so who have no tie to them, who owe them nothing.
Get them locked in before they get ashore.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much more of the story that comes out from this that I don't know if this is the most appropriate forum for it, because we're also trying to keep these a little shorter.
Yeah.
The Spark Notes, the Cliffs Notes version is they come ashore, they find an abandoned space, most likely a Wampanoag, former Wampanoag village.
Probably smallpox. There's a smallpox epidemic that probably ripped through around 1615.
Most scholarship says 90% of that tribe there was wiped out, and most likely from to your point, why I was intrigued by what you're saying of how much earlier.
Oh yeah,
Westerners,
there have been fur traders along the
100 years
for at least decades, and in Provincetown, they found a grave. For some reason, Pilgrims had no problem digging up other people's graves.
Jesus.
It's another tradition that they started in America. They found a grave of a red-haired, probably sailor.
Okay.
So chances are this had been a trader who died of whatever reason, and they buried him ashore there. But we know that one of the other reasons that I think is important for us to get into quickly is that the Pilgrims had to make it pay. This was a religious.
We were getting there.
We're not done yet.
No, not done.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm taking care of these Cliff Notes quickly of them getting. Let's get them ashore.
Did they actually land on the rock?
God no.
I mean, you're a mariner. Like, is that how you would put people ashore?
No. So they established this settlement in what had been an abandoned village, and lucky for them, a divine providence, of course, they come across an indigenous man who actually already speaks English.
So that story is really interesting. You're talking about Tisquantum.
Oh yeah.
So in 2014, I went to the Mashpee Wampanoag people. There was some planning going on for the 300th or 400th anniversary of Plymouth Plantation and
Plymouth Patuxet.
Patuxet. Or maybe this was 2018. It was 2018. So a couple years ahead of time.
Okay.
And we walked into the room, met with some of the tribal elders, like, well, we had our 400th anniversary 2 years ago in 2014, or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And a couple of us sort of knew where this was going to go, but a couple of the people who were there, they're like, what? It's like, yeah, because it was Thomas Hunt who was an English trader slash slave raider, had seized 20 Native American young men from southern New England, brought them back to the old world as slaves. At least two of them were able to escape. Tisquantum was one of them. I can't recall the name of the other one. But the other guy, I love this story, basically got aboard a vessel by promising the English master, he would take them to the gold mines on Martha's Vineyard. You know, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So sure enough, they sail back to Martha's Vineyard, and the captain says, "Here we are. Where are the gold mines? They're over there close to the shore. Keep going, keep going, keep going." Gets close enough to shore to swim ashore, jumps overboard and splits. Good for him.
I was like, yes!
Exactly. I'm sure that may have come across his mind when he got on the beach. I'm not sure how Tisquantum, other people do know how Tisquantum got ashore, but basically Tisquantum was able to leverage his use of language to not only facilitate relationships between Massasoit and Edward Winslow, the one of the leaders of the Pilgrims when they came ashore, but he also was able to leverage his own status within the Wampanoag people.
Yeah.
From Massasoit's perspective, you have this, here comes some people, and he's getting pressed from the Massachusetts in the north and the Narragansetts to the southwest.
So this whole thing,
That's been covered elsewhere, but it's a fascinating story.
So fascinating.
Yeah,
So
PBS did a great episode in their documentary from a couple decades ago.
and that's where we're having to
We
draw
Shall.
this line
Yeah.
of how far inland, literally and metaphorically, are we going right now.
We Shall Remain. Great documentary. Check it out. PBS, I think it was the American Experience that did it.
If it wasn't for Squanto and their assistance, who knows what would have happened to that settlement? Because even with that assistance, 50% of the settlement was dead in a year.
We know what would have happened.
It would have gone.
But 100% would have been dead within a year.
And all
by
of,
one means or another.
and all of this going all the way back to Leiden, going to their time in Southampton from where they launched,
Right.
and the poor choices, or whether it was the actual sabotaging of the Speedwell, or whatever led up to them, that they, instead of just saying this is too late in the season, let's do this next year, right?
On my office door, there's a quote from Danny Vickers that basically says, it doesn't make a lot of sense to leave a well-established harbor in Europe and go find one in the New World. But then again, the Puritan Great Migration was not powered by common sense.
Yeah, there was absolutely so little common sense, and it was driven by, obviously, their zealousy of how they were dealing with their religion at the time.
But I also wonder something that you brought up earlier about why didn't Carver get arrested?
Yeah.
If you've got a boat full of these freaks, and you let them ashore in Southampton, someone's gonna drop the dime on them.
Yeah.
And so maybe they couldn't. Did they go ashore, or were they?
No, they were living on the boat the whole time.
I wonder if how much that had to do with it.
I'm sure. Well, of course it was. Obviously a lot of unrelated issues conspiring for them to leave at a very inopportune time, and how freaking lucky of them to run into the people that they did on the North American soil, to leave their losses at only 50%.
Right.
Right. And then, of course, the ultimate myth that came along, they're successful making it through their first full year in November of 1621, and they have the original Thanksgiving. Now, we are not going to unpack that, because that could be that could be a full episode on its own. And at that point, is this really maritime history? No, that's getting into something totally beyond.
Layers. There's so much bullshit.
So many layers of so many
bullshit.
Oh my gosh.
The other couple things that I think are important is one of the ways that they were able to get through that winter was they went up to Damerscove Island, where they knew there was a fishing camp.
Oh, okay.
And they were able to trade and learn how to fish for themselves from the fishermen that had probably been fishing off of Damerscove Island for decades.
Yeah.
and they were supposed to be shipping back beaver pelt, but most of those beaver had been hunted out by earlier traders.
So the only thing they had
Been hunted out by Native Americans for earlier traders.
So the only thing they had left to send back was information.
Hopes and prayers.
Well, no, not just hopes
Thoughts
and
and
prayers.
prayers.
Remember, we talked about this off camera in a different conversation, and something that we went really off piste. But it was
Us never.
yeah, really. But something that you introduced me to, Mort's Relations.
Mm-hmm.
And Mort's Relations is a promotional package of this is what we accomplished in our first year. And it was something, at first you think, oh, how cool. We found some documentation of how things went, not just from Bradford's journals, but from other writers.
Yeah.
Well, it comes to pass that it wasn't exactly that. So there was a much more formal package that they had sent back. I think it was Winslow, actually.
Edward Winslow was one of the authors.
Sent back basically to prove to the investors, to the Virginia company, here we are. We've established ourselves. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to do.
Send us more stuff.
You send us more stuff.
We'll find a way to pay you back somehow.
Right, and this is what we're going to. This is how we're moving forward in order to pay back your investment.
Right.
Well, evidently, that got intercepted on its way back.
By sailors?
French.
This gets better and better.
So I forget who I have this note somewhere, and I didn't put it in these, but there was whoever went back with Mayflower, who was bringing this package, was like,
because Mayflower didn't sail until the spring.
right,
Right.
was like, holy shit, I can't show up with nothing.
Yeah.
So started scribing everything he could remember and cobbing together. So the Mort's Relations is essentially a facsimile of what the original package was going to be.
But it's also advertising.
Oh, absolutely. All of it was advertising.
Right.
It was,
And a justification, because there's that weird section at the end where it talks about why it's okay that they settled where they settled, not in the area where they're given by charter, but also why in a society where property rights are paramount, why they were justified in basically walking onto somebody else's property, Native Americans, and taking them.
well, they didn't really care that it was Native Americans. They cared that it was outside of the purview of the charter.
I think there's both going on. It doesn't.
think?
I think so, to some extent. I think
it depends on who was writing it.
true, but I think they needed to at least cover their ass.
Oh, it was definitely a CYA document.
Not just from the jurisdictional concerns with the Virginia company, but also this notion that, why we are justified in taking just land.
Yeah.
And they argued that it was about emptiness and undevelopedness and all this other, European justification why Native Americans are inferior and why they can't be considered real human beings, even at the same time as Mort's Relation is talking about how wonderful and kind they are.
Right.
Oh, the savages were really nice to us. Like, why are you calling these people savages?
Right,
then?
right.
But that's a modern sensibility.
Well, again, back to their use of language. With strangers, savages, they're better than everybody.
Right. They're dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just dicks.
There's so many things that were constructed after the fact.
Yeah.
The increase, the elevation of that first Thanksgiving dinner, the Mayflower Compact, as noted by numerous scholarship, that they don't really talk about the compact. And then when you look back and realize how it came about, of course they don't.
There's a whole lot of things, a whole lot of boxes, Mort's Relation and the Pilgrims tick when we were trying to construct an American exceptionalism for an imperialistic world. Just in time for us to join that race for empire. Well, now we had already in it for a while at that point. But it was, the racialized thinking of the time, the nationalist thinking of the time, the idea that we are different, that our nation is graced by God. whatever.
But it's really not hard for somebody to construct that mythology, seeing what happens.
Well, if you cherry pick your evidence, you can come up with anything.
Not even cherry picking the evidence. Think about in a Swiss cheese model of how accidents happen, right? There's this whole thing.
Yeah, you need to explain that one to me.
No, absolutely. So in accident theory for like National Highway Transportation, the Safety Board or
merchant
FAA
marine.
or anything, for an accident to occur, the holes in the Swiss cheese have to line up perfectly. Right. And at any point that can be broken.
Right.
In some respects, this is the inverse of the same thing. There's so many points that this could have gone off the rails, and this origin story for the American experiment would have gone a very different way. Now, arguable, could have still turned out the same? Yeah, absolutely. But
here, hold on a
Leiden
second.
could have.
Yeah.
What if the truce didn't hold? What if Mayflower? What if the printing press wasn't aboard? Well, I mean, so many different things that could have led to that never happening.
But there is the thing that's troubling me is that we are talking about an historical narrative that has been handed down to us by certain people. It's the best we can come up with, sort of. But we are looking...
And everybody in that has something to gain or proffer from their point of the story.
Maybe it did go another way, and we don't have the evidence to support that. Now, we can't... history is an empirical discipline. We can't speculate widely without evidence to back it up.
Right.
I mean, we can speculate, but it remains speculation.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a series of constructions built upon constructions, and each one has this very, very charged cultural, political, social ambiance, context that it has to engage with.
Yeah.
All history does that, frankly, but this one in particular has been basically pumped up, I think, way beyond its larger significance.
The real Americans.
Yeah, but no.
Oh, I know. Oh, no. I know.
I mean,
I'm just...
Jack Green in the 1980s, he wrote a book called Pursuit of Happiness that was a conscious, deliberate attempt, and I think a largely successful one, to show that if you want to see really where America came from, it wasn't Pilgrim New England or Puritan New England. It was the Chesapeake, the boom town of tobacco soil mining. Basically, cash money, exploit whoever you can.
You're not going to sell that to a good New Englander.
Oh no,
we are the cradle of everything.
Right. No, and there was massive pushback when this book was published in, I want to say, 1986. But the evidence is pretty damn good. He makes a really good case in that book. And other people, Carmenard and Walsh did a wonderful job looking at early planters in Chesapeake. There's a whole bunch of wonderful Chesapeake, 17th century Chesapeake studies. Ruttman and Ruttman's book, A Place in Time. Anyway, we in many ways, as New Englanders, are not the norm.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were Red Sox fans. So this, but we're getting way far from the. I think we've gone beyond the 6 feet 7 inches of maritime history.
100%. Yeah.
But then again, like where does the line exist? And there isn't one.
No, there is none. But this is the difficulty, and this was a difficulty from the get-go when it came to choosing Mayflower specifically, not Mayflower 2, is not just because it has been plumbed to such a degree, the history of it, but
worked and reworked and overworked.
But it bleeds into so many other things, which is a little bit of the kind of the point that we've been trying to make from day one about maritime history. Yes, it lands on shore, but the influence of its landing on shore spreads out And then at that point, you have to ask yourself, where are you drawing the line?
What if the Pilgrims just tripped over Plymouth Rock and face planted?
TBI, and they all suffered from traumatic brain injury, and that was it. Or maybe
They already had.
Maybe they already had.
Childhood was rough in the 17th century.
Exactly. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up.
Can we be done with Pilgrims?
Oh, well, yeah. When we revisit Mayflower 2, it has nothing to do with Pilgrims. It actually it's a World War II story.
Now that is going to be interesting.
Yeah, World War II and Suez Canal.
Can we beat up? Oh.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
But can we beat up on Pilgrims just a little bit?
Oh, sure.
There's a wonderful paper that came out in the Massachusetts Review by Arnold Laurie, hyphenated last name, I'm forgetting the author's first name, looking at two major events that were happening just down the street from each other in 1920. The first was the 300th anniversary of Plymouth Plantation.
Okay.
And all these people were dressing up in floppy hats and big buckles and looking like freaks.
That hat wasn't floppy, though. It was with that straight brim.
Dumbass hats,
Okay.
just dumbass hats. But the other right down the road, the Sacco and Vanzetti trial. And it's a magnificent analysis looking at how this is really about different contestations over what it means to be an American in 1920.
It's a lot of that's always kind of playing out in the background for us in everything we're going to be doing. Well, until next time, my name is RJ LaValle.
And I'm Matthew McKenzie. Thanks for watching Backwinded.